Hello everybody, welcome back to the Midnight Paint and Body channel. Hey, on this video I'm just going to take you through the steps of removing and refinishing a painted bumper on a Chevy pickup truck. So this isn't a real uncommon sight, although this one's pretty bad. So what we're going to be doing is taking this bumper off and getting it ready to repainting it this factory silver color. So it is pretty darn pitted. It's makes me think it's probably been replaced with a cheap aftermarket one at some point, because this truck is actually really nice. This is one of the cleanest ones I've seen of this body style. 2011, I believe. So we're gonna start on that. If you're new to the channel, so this is my shop, Midnight Paint and Body. A couple other things we've got going on. I'm in the middle of doing a series of videos putting the 4-link and narrowed 9-inch in the Chevy 2. There's a whole series of videos on rebuilding the body on the 70 Charger. And incidentally, I just got a bunch of parts just yesterday. It's a bunch of the 4-link suspension mounts for this car. So we're going to be actually cutting into the freshly restored and painted chassis and welding in the 4-link mounts, but that is not a big deal. The 78 Trans Am is mine. There's a bunch of videos from last year when I rescued it, and I'm doing a few videos now. I'm getting ready to take on a 1,000-kilometer drag and drive event here in British Columbia. So, transmission's out and working on that. And my 69 Firebird, I dug out of storage yesterday, so now it's just here in the way. So I need to just move it in and out of the shop every day now. It's a problem with working from your home shop. And then this pile of parts the size of a car is actually a full Cervini's body kit. So it's like an Eleanor Mustang body kit going on a 2012 Shelby GT500 Mustang. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be a ways off, but if you're interested in seeing that, that's going to be a cool project. So and of course it's spring, so I'm starting to get all the junk out. And this is all my stuff that's just always in the way. See, I actually need another shop for my own stuff, and just this shop for customer stuff. That's the problem with being a gearhead that works on cars. So anyway, let's start pulling this bumper off. So these bumpers are in fact quite easy to take off. I'll kind of show you the basics. Now, I've seen guys try and take these apart and they end up taking bolts out all over the place trying to get to them, but they come off as an assembly. They're quite easy. It's actually more work stripping that bumper bar down of all the plastic than actually taking the bumper off. So, first thing, you've got to remove your grill. Pretty simple, a bunch of plastic clips. So once you get the top cover off, a couple of 10mm bolts, and these have push-in clips that go straight in once the bolts are out. They can be tricky. Sometimes you can reach down with some pliers and pinch the back, or just kind of use a standard screwdriver and poke the edge of the clip in. So if you ever get those trays from the grocery store with meat and cheese or fruit or whatever comes in them, save these things. They're fantastic for bolts. So these are the clips I'm talking about. These guys here. If you can kind of get in there with a pair of pliers and just pinch them and then pull back, which I can't do with one hand, but just give you an idea. If you just grab onto that grill and just try and reef it out on those clips, you're gonna bugger them up. So it's better to take the time and try and remove them nicely. So now with our grill out, I'll show you the bolts that need to come out. So it's just these guys here that go straight down. I think they're a 21 millimeter if I remember right. But so yeah, they're just a big long bolt, goes all the way down through. They need to come out. And then I'll show you underneath here. I better bring the light. So you need to unhook your fog lights if you have them, which I've already done. And then it's just this bracket here. Now actually this one's more accessible. So you can either unbolt it here or here. I usually unbolt them here because these ones are easier to get to, but you've got to kind of get that bracket down from behind the frame, but when you pull the bumper off, but it's not a big deal. So I'm gonna grab some tools, buzz those out, and we'll buzz the top ones out, and I'll show you how easy these come off. So there's all the bolts out. Those 4 15 millimeter bolts out of those lower brackets, and these 2 21s from the top. Now I might need to get under there, push those brackets kind of under that frame right now, like I was saying, but usually these come right off. Actually, I forgot something, and it's a real simple thing. This shield is attached to the bumper just with push clips, so we need to take out these ones. So that's all that was holding it on. So now this part, like I said, this is actually more work than the bumper itself, but it's all straightforward. If you're worried about stripping this all apart, take a few pictures with your cell phone or whatever. I mean, it is straightforward. It only goes back together one way, but sometimes some photos help if you're unsure. So I'm going to start with just removing these brackets, and then we're going to get down and all these 10 millimeter bolts to take this lower valence off. And then we've got these bumper ends. And they, if I remember right, yeah, you've got to take the plastic off. Yeah, the plastic bolts on, and then it's got these steel braces in behind those plastic ends. But those might not have to come off. But yeah, we'll start stripping this down. Right. So there's our bumper bar stripped off. So, as you can see, there's about 38,000 10 millimeter bolts, some plastic clips, a little bit of everything. So, a little bit of a pain, but not a big deal. So now, as you can see, looking at this bumper bar, now, I mean, sure, I could have just smoothed that off on the truck and masked it off and painted it, but, you know, the rust goes around the edges. You're never going to get in there when it's together. And the other thing, I always like to clean up the inside and coat the inside as well, because that rust is usually creeping around. So, you know, you might be able to just kind of clean it up yourself for your own truck, but when you're doing it for a living like me, or it's a business, I need to be able to warranty that. And if that rusts again in, you know, a year, I'm going to be redoing the job. So anyway, I'm going to, yeah, I may as well buzz those bumper ends off. I was going to leave them on, but take those off, and then we'll get on to sandblasting this thing. So just on another note here, guys, if you're watching this, so obviously not everybody's got sandblaster and painting facilities and everything necessary to do this. But say you're wanting to have this done at a body shop, and you take it to the body shop and they're like, well, it's, $600 to $1,200 to paint a bumper. You could take it down to this stage, rip it all apart, and then you're just taking that bumper bar somewhere to get blasted and painted. So a bulk of that cost in doing something like this is that labor, taking it all apart. I mean, it's a fairly big job. It's a couple hours of messing around, taking it apart, putting it back together. So, I mean, that's a money saver there if you're just looking to do this yourself. At this point, you're just dropping that off, picking it up when it's painted, putting it back together and on your truck. So pretty straightforward at this point. I've got the bumper already, a set of wheels that are for a different customer. Needed to be blasted in epoxy as well. So I'm going to give the bumper probably 2 coats of epoxy primer. I'll let that set up for a while, but then I'm going to actually give that a few coats of a high-build urethane as well to fill in a lot of those pits, because it's quite a lot of rust pitting in it. So here's front bumper with 2 coats of epoxy primer and 2 coats of high build urethane primer. So I'll let this sit until tomorrow, get it prepped up, and get some paint on it. So it's the next day, ready to start prepping up this bumper we were working on yesterday. So I don't know if the camera will pick this up very good or not, but you can see just how deeply pitted this one was. The rust had really gotten into it. So we're gonna have to get that all sanded smooth. That's more than likely gonna need a little bit of putty to finish it off, but yeah, we'll get sanding and see what we have to work with. So there's a little better look at just how deep that pitting goes into this bumper. So nothing a quick little smear of putty won't fix. Now you can do that putty before putting the primer on and smooth it all out, and that's gonna, it's probably a little less work to do it that way. I like to do them this way. That way I know that good epoxy primer is getting right down into those pits before I fill them up. I just think it's a better way to do it personally, but and then before I put putty on that too, I should mention I'll take a red scratch pad and run over everything so that they've got a little bit of tooth, a little bit of adhesion down into the pits instead of putting putty right over that smooth primer. So I'm gonna mix up a little bit of finishing putty and fill those up. So here's our bumper all prepped and washed. So you can see the putty spots throughout where the deep rust pitting was. So you don't want to paint directly over that. If I was to put my base coat, clear coat over that, those putty spots are eventually going to show up again because it'll kind of soak in the paint and shrink back a little bit. So in this case, what you will either need to reprime or seal before painting. So I'm just going to be giving this a coat of urethane sealer, and then I'll go ahead with the base coat, clear coat. And next time you guys see it, it'll be shiny. So here's our bumper all painted. It's been a couple hours, it's pretty much cured up. So there's just a sneak peek. So I'm gonna let that sit until tomorrow. We'll put her back together, get her back on the truck, and have one last look. And my phone is ringing, so I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. My phone was ringing. So yeah, I was going to tell you guys that I've had a few requests for shop t-shirts. I typically give them away with jobs whenever I can afford to have them in stock, but I just got a batch in if anyone is interested. So I think I have large, extra large, and 2X. Pretty limited quantities, but I can always get more. So if anyone's interested, 25 bucks, hit me up on probably through social media or something. I don't have a website or anything, but we can work something out. I think it's like $7 shipping in Canada, and to the US I'm not sure, but hit me up. We'll figure it out if you're interested in one, and I can send it off to you. So there's that. So here's our bumper job all finished up, put together, ready for the customer. Well, as you can see, sometimes that's all it takes to kind of transform a vehicle from looking crummy. And like I said, this is a super clean truck, really, really nice shape, so that's just having that rusty bumper made it look like crap. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. If you find this kind of stuff helpful at all, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. If there's anything you'd like to see more of, less of, done differently, let me know. I'm always trying to improve the videos. And as always, if you can, hit subscribe. It's free. I'll see you on the next one.